I'm glad America is finally getting rid of the DEI. The DEI, the diverse equity and ignition, or the diverse equity and something training that they're putting on it, that they were putting on everybody after the death of George Floyd and all this other stuff that had happened during the pandemic. They were trying to disguise, a lot of their agendas in the DEI, in the DEI training, and the situation, of situations of that, to put forth a radical agenda about race and culture and stuff that is obviously extremely racist and extremely prejudiced towards white people and towards anybody who would be considered to speak against the social norms of what people feel is the injustice, or the justices that they want to serve on the left. Um, but I'm so glad we're getting rid of the DEI in the schools, and people are waking up and saying DEI is doing a lot more damage to society and life and relationships and our children and our overall outlook of society, that it needs to be done away with, that it's doing more harm than good. It's obviously creating a racist culture among the black people to really kind of look at people and say, well, white people are the devil, white people are this and that, and some white people are bad, some black people are bad, but that doesn't mean every white person's the devil. And I truly believe that, not every white person's the devil. I mean, some people don't get along with people and be like, oh, that person's the devil, but I mean, you can't get along with everybody, and that's a different scenario and occasion. But not every white person is the devil, and not every white person's gonna be like, a saint. But neither is every black person. There's some black people out there that go about black culture very poorly, and they represent the black culture very derogatory and stuff like that. That it's very demeaning and degrading towards the black culture and black women, and so what some of the most degrading people towards black women are not white men. It's actually the black men. It's actually the black men in the black community that are the most degrading people sometimes towards their own women, and respecting their own women. It's actually the black males and the black men that seem to have more like lack of respect for their own women than white males do. So, and I think that's why some black women are going more into interracial relationships, or trying to date outside their race, or trying to at least be open to finding love in a different form that's not just in the black community. Because people say the black community is failing the black community because of the ghetto culture, the woke culture, and all this other stuff that's being placed on society, that's destroying the black family and destroying the black foundation, which has nothing to do with the white community. It has to do with something that was placed onto the black community, but it wasn't necessarily done by necessarily white people. So, as people might say. So white people are not necessarily just the devil because of what's happening towards the black community. That was more of a political thing than more of a racist or cultural thing, when towards a specific creed, race, gender, or belief or group. So, um, but no, I really do. I really am glad we're getting rid of the DEI and schools and our teachings and society and stuff like that. They should make it a crime. They should make it a crime. Anybody practicing DEI, should be arrested. They should be arrested. They should be thrown in jail. Because it's not. It's a reverse form of racism. It's teaching a reverse form of racism to black people, that that white people need to be punished, or white people owe them something, or white people have to be at fault for them to feel good, and it's just not doing right by society. So, um, I mean, I'm still for interracial relationships. Don't get me wrong. I'm still for loving a black woman or loving outside my race, whether it be Asian, black, white. I'll date a white woman too. I mean, if the white woman's attractive to me, I will date a white woman. I will gladly go out for coffee with a white woman. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a black woman. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone outside my necessarily background and race, but they need to really fit my values too. The thing is, the women I need to attract need to fit more of my values and things, and I think I'm caught into some stereotypes when it comes to the black community, but I think that plays a big part into some other things and some other type of fantasies and things that people have, and I might have a little bit too tweaked a little bit too growing up, but people say too that there's a such thing as the black culture, and then there's a such thing as ghetto black culture, and ghetto black culture puts such a negative impact, I think, on the black community and stuff. But that's the thing too, is that people in the ghetto black culture, have represented certain people. I mean, and not that people really even care, because obviously the black community, it's up to the black community to change what the black community is experiencing, because it's their community, and it's their situation to really kind of fix. It's not really up to a white person, because we've been told more than once it's not up to us to fix our community and our issues. So it's like, okay, but they do. They have an issue with like black ghetto culture, which is not necessarily part of the culture, but it's just kind of it's an issue within the culture that's giving actual respectable black women a bad name and stuff like that. And um, I think woke culture also had a hand in some stuff too, when it came to how people were believing and acting and doing things that were not right, and etc. And I mean, even though I'm part of the LGBT community, and I'm also still bi, even though I'm still bi and part of the LGBT community, um, I don't agree with gender politics. We don't need to make everything about these pronouns and all these made up names and stuff. We can just be, male and female, and and just stick with those two genders, but you can't really be outside your gender regardless. And I'm not somebody who believes like to be outside my gender. I was born a male. I'm biologically a male, so I identify as a male. I identify as a male liking other male men, not feminine men, not transgender men, not cross-dressing men, but men, So, and then that's kind of hard too, because a lot of feminine type of men and men that wear makeup and stuff seem to be attracted to me and stuff like that, but I'm not really attracted to them, and find them kind of gross and stuff like that. And it gets kind of creepy too. There's gay men out there too, that actual men and gay men that actually likes things like My Little Pony and stuff like that. And I realize how creepy that is. I just realize how creepy that is, and just how much of a creep that stuff is. So, um, I mean, I've seen My Little Pony. I've watched it, but because I've had nieces, nephews, and other people that obviously wanted to watch it and stuff. But um, I don't. I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily watch the My Little Pony stuff, because it's not age appropriate for me as a 36-year-old man to watch My Little Pony. But some 20-year-old men, that identify as being gay or bi, think My Little Pony is okay, and it's for made for little kids, and that's where it gets creepy, it gets creepy. And not only that, they're pushing these things on people that are not even legal age and stuff, when it came to being able to talk about what their gender is. They shouldn't be concerned about what their gender is as a child. They shouldn't be concerned about what their gender is. They shouldn't be concerned about having a uh, a transgender surgery, or what do you call it, a gender change surgery at a young age. I mean, you're not old enough to make decisions, legally as an adult, at a young age. Why would you have another adult make you kind of sign your rights away to have your body changed into another sex, when you're not even fully mature enough or grown to understand things or make your decisions. So, I mean, I was kind of against the transgender situation. I was kind of against the gender politics, especially when it came to some of our younger generations and stuff like that. I think the whole thing about um, you know, stuff like, I think the whole thing about like the stuff with like gay people, they're just being gay. It's like, so being gay is one thing, but being a creep is another thing. I mean, people be like, oh, I'm gay, but I like My Little Pony, or I like this, and it's like it's that's where it gets creepy. That's where it gets really, really creepy. So, I mean, I've had to look at myself in some areas too and say, this is kind of creepy, Um, but as a bisexual 36-year-old male, do not really agree with some of the stuff that some of my fellow LGBT people were doing in the gay community or the bisexual community or the transgender community or the LGBT community in general. I don't agree with some of the things that were being talked about and etc. Especially with like transgenderism and stuff like that. I also agree. I also disagree. I also disagree that we should have transgender bathrooms and stuff like that when it comes to transgenderism and stuff. I disagree on that too because I don't think we should have transgender bathrooms. I don't think it should be a thing that should be allowed. I mean, anybody can say they're gay or bi or a different sex and then go into the woman's bathroom and assault a woman. Or assault a little girl or somebody in the woman's bathroom, and it would be very inappropriate and a whole huge issue. I mean, it's one thing for the people that obviously identify maybe as transgender or a woman, but it's another thing for people that obviously want to take advantage of that whole situation and make it kind of creepy and be a creep about it. So I don't agree with like the transgender bathrooms. I don't agree with being a sex outside of being what you're born to be, which I'm a biological male that just likes other males. I don't really like feminine males. I don't like transgender males. I don't really believe in the transgender thing altogether. I don't believe anybody should go changing their sex of who they are. I think you should like who you were born to be, and other people should like maybe like you for who you were born to be, or you should like people for who they were born to be compared to the fact that somebody wants to change their sex or wear girls' clothes or makeup or it's gotten so messy, this whole thing about gender politics and DEI with the racial critical race theory and stuff that it's a huge issue for people in the LGBT community. It's a huge issue for people who are white and who obviously had to deal with a lot in the DEI community and the critical race theory stuff and all this racial stuff within the black community that they're trying to place and put onto society. And not only that, Black Lives Matter is starting again. Black Lives Matter is starting again because a Marine kind of had to protect some people and himself because a guy was high on drugs and he was talking about doing some things that were unsafe, and because a guy was high on drugs and the guy was talking about doing things that were unsafe, he put the guy in a chokehold. He put the guy in a chokehold or something just to try to calm him down and try to like not have him go off on and try to hurt other people and now Black Lives Matter wants to make a big thing about it, like justice for such and such, justice for this and that, and I don't think it's going to go very well for Black Lives Matter, especially when Trump gets into office. I think Trump's this time going to declare martial law and have martial law kind of come in there and kind of especially if it gets out of hand, have martial law come in there and kind of really kind of eradicate the freaking black community because people have chose to just go just completely out of character and out of sorts. But I don't care. I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna stay home. I'm not going to no Black Lives Matter rallies and stuff. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna wear any of that stuff or put myself in any of that positions to be in those situations for Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. It doesn't matter to me anymore. We all matter. We all matter in the eyes of God. We were all created in God's image. We all matter in God. The eyes of God. Some people reject the teachings of God, and some people reject God when it comes to like the like politics these days and people's beliefs. They're using their politics, they're using the beliefs, and they're using what people feel. What they're using their beliefs to kind of change the scenarios of the system of what God is supposed to be and who God is. That they're trying to change who God is and what God is supposed to be, and they're changing what his name is about. That it's changed a lot of things for a lot of people, especially in society and etc. And it's kind of been changed because of the black community and their DEI and their critical race theory and racial politics. It's been changed in the LGBT community with uh, the gender stuff and the gender identity stuff and how what people feel in the LGBT community about God. So um, thing is, I've always believed in God. The thing is, I've always believed in God, and something always felt kind of right, but kind of wrong about the situation. It's like I could never really put my finger on it too much. It was like some certain things felt right, but they were also kind of wrong. And I didn't really know how to really explain it. I didn't really know how to really cope with that. So, but I realized because it's not of God. God is certain things are not of God, and certain things are just God is God wants better for the world. God wants better for the world. God wants better for society. But the world and society have gone kind of nuts and mentally ill, and etc. That the world is kind of having some issues and now is in jeopardy and etc. So, um, but at this point, I'm glad DEI is kind of going to be ended with. I'm glad gender politics is going to kind of be ended with. We're going to get rid of the pronouns. We're going to get rid of all that stuff. We can just go back to being a male and and being a normal LGBT person without all the people dressing like dogs or etc. Whatever they're trying to do in their woke their woke gender politics or critical race theory politics or. Mm. It caused me such a headache in the past. It caused me such a headache in the past trying to talk about it to people who only really kind of wanted to challenge that or kind of jump down my throat for speaking my mind and making me feel guilty or making me feel like I need to feel mentally ill for speaking my mind and etc. because there was such a problem and people wanted to make it like there was something wrong with me or why they wanted to threaten me or wanted to say things about my life that I was going to be in such a harm or something because I thought differently or spoke differently. But I'm feeling more confident now with Trump in office and certain things hopefully going to be reversed or going to be changed back to some type of normalcy that I need to speak on this because it was such an issue. Especially trying to love a pro-black woman. You ever try to love a pro-black woman who really doesn't really love you because she sees color in your skin and she sees all these issues with like skin color and etc. And maybe other personal issues in her life that you don't really mesh well with another woman in another situation because of it. And not every woman is like that. Not every woman's gonna see color. Not every woman's gonna be like, "Oh, I see color. You're a bad person. You should, blah 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 blah." But I'm losing track of thought here. But I am. I'm so glad they're getting rid of these gender identity politics and DEI. And I'm so glad at this point. It's about 3:11 in the morning. 3:11 in the morning. I'm sitting here just talking about something, getting it off my chest because it's on my mind and on my heart to think about different things that are going on, and I'm watching different things like based off my heroes. And a lot of my conservative heroes now are talking about the end of DEI and World War III, possibly World War III is coming, and Trump's made a statement about warning about World War III possibly happening and stuff like that. So um people got to get their shit together. People got to do what they got to do, and the world's going to probably be in shambles or kind of chaotic. But um, I don't know. But anyways, just wanted to get that off my chest. I'm glad we're getting rid of DEI. I'm glad we're going to try to get rid of some of the critical race theory stuff and some of this, gender politics and stuff that seems to be causing, society a lot more harm than good. And going back to being a normal LGBT person, that wants to think normalcy about life, and not get caught up in all this woke culture stuff. Like I was trying to get, involved in the woke culture stuff, and I got involved in certain things that I kind of look back at my life and say I shouldn't have gotten involved in this and that because it's really creepy or it's really just not okay, and it just I mean, obviously, we all learn our lessons. We go down these roads, and we go down the wrong roads, and we do these things that we regret, you know. But God's forgiveness is always going to be God's forgiveness, and God, we have an everlasting God. We have a very, forgiving God, and God just wants the best for us. And I think He knows that we go down the wrong roads and we do what we do, and He only wants to call us back home into His presence and stuff, and tell us that and that we've made some mistakes, but He still loves us. So. And I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. I think I look back at my life, and I got involved with some people. I went down these roads. I went down these wrong roads in these wrong situations. And I kind of look at things like, oh, this is good. This is bad. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have gotten involved with this person. But God's taking me places for a reason. He knows everything that's supposed to happen when it happens, and everything that was gonna happen. And. So I mean, all I gotta do is really trust God at this point and do what I gotta do. So, but anyways, just wanted to get that off my chest. Yeah. So.